The most violent Simpsons moments you missed. The Simpsons, that bright, funny, lovable cartoon we all grew up on. But behind the laughs, there's a darker side. Here are the most violent Simpsons moments you might have missed. Treehouse of Horror 5, Season 6, Episode 6. This is the episode where the Simpsons stopped pretending. No more silly ghosts or joke monsters. This time they went all in on horror, and it shows. The first segment, The Shinning. Yeah, you heard that right. They don't say shining because they're avoiding lawsuits. The family become winter caretakers at Mr. Burns' isolated mountain lodge. But there's a catch. No beer, no TV. And that's all it takes.
Homer, I'm impressed. You're taking this quite well.
I'll kill you! I'll kill all of you!
Homer!
Sorry.
Homer completely snaps. He's swinging an axe, chasing his own family through dark hallways, screaming like he's possessed. It's a direct parody of The Shining, but it gets genuinely intense. And just when groundskeeper Willie tries to help, boom, axe to the back. He dies trying. Brutal. Then we jump to Time and Punishment. Homer turns a broken toaster into a time machine, by accident of course. He keeps jumping back to prehistoric times and changing the tiniest things. Step on one bug, and the future becomes a nightmare. Sometimes it's raining donuts. Sometimes Ned Flanders rules the world like a smiling dictator. In one version, even his own family doesn't recognize him. The endless time travel turns into chaos. And yes, Willie pops up to explain things. He dies again. Same axe. It starts as a gag, but gets darker every time.
You're still not in your own world, Homer! I can get you home, but you have to do exactly as I...
This is indeed a disturbing universe.
Last up, Nightmare Cafeteria. This one's the most unsettling. Springfield Elementary is crowded, detention is packed, and the lunch budget is drained. So what do the teachers do? Start cooking the students. Seriously. Jimbo becomes Sloppy Jimbos, Uter becomes Uterbraten. It's played for laughs, but it's deeply disturbing. Bart and Lisa try to escape, but they're cornered in the kitchen right next to a meat grinder. And just when Willie shows up, yep, axe again. Here's what sets this episode apart. It doesn't ease into the horror, it throws you right into it. Kids are being eaten. Homer's trying to murder his family. Reality keeps shattering and reshaping with violent consequences. And the mood stays grim. No reset button. No light-hearted ending. It finishes in a pure nightmare. Treehouse of Horror was scary, but this next threat, he's not a monster. He's just a man. And somehow that's worse. Cape Fear, Season 5, Episode 2. Out of every danger Bart Simpson has faced, nothing tops a man in a suit and bow tie carrying a knife and fueled by pure hatred. It begins with Bart getting creepy letters. Not pranks, not silly threats. These are serious, detailed death notes, dripping in red ink.
Oh my god! Someone's trying to kill me! Oh wait, it's for Bart.
Soon it's revealed. Sideshow Bob has been released from prison, and he isn't joking around. He wants revenge, and not in some cartoonish way. He wants Bart dead. Plain and simple. To stay safe, the family enters witness protection. They move to Terror Lake and even change their last name to Thompson. It doesn't matter. Bob tracks them down anyway. In one of the creepiest moments, we see him hiding under their boat chained to the bottom, smiling through the pain, clinging on for miles as they float downstream. He's not rushing anything. He wants this to last. At night, he sneaks aboard. He quietly ties up Homer and Marge, gags Lisa, then slowly walks into Bart's room holding a knife.
Hello, Bart.
Mom! Dad!
Your family can't help you now.
The moment isn't loud. It's quiet, careful, terrifying. Bob isn't in a hurry. He wants to enjoy it. He wants Bart to be afraid, and it works. Bart, thinking fast, buys time. He asks Bob to perform an entire operetta before doing anything else. Bob agrees because his pride is bigger than his rage. He changes into a costume. He sings every part, but the blade stays close the entire time. Why is Cape Fear on this list? Because it doesn't hide the horror. It leans into it. This isn't goofy chaos or a wild fight. It's a slow, planned hunt of a child by a full-grown killer. And for several minutes, the show fully commits to that feeling. Yes, there are laughs, but underneath, it's a pure nightmare. A child running for his life. a villain enjoying every second of it, and a finale that barely avoids disaster. One man tried to kill Bart. Now an entire theme park gives it a shot. Itchy and Scratchy Land, Season 6, Episode 4. In Season 6, the Simpsons pack up for a family trip to Itchy and Scratchy Land, a theme park modeled after the cartoon duo known for brutally destroying each other in every scene. Think Disneyland, but the mascots are wielding axes and everyone's clapping. Bart and Lisa are thrilled. Homer's excited. Marge, of course, already knows this is a terrible idea. At first glance, it's just a twisted version of any standard amusement park. You've got themed rides like Roger Mayer's Wild Ride, shops selling decapitated plush toys, and a parade where floats explode on purpose. There's even a fake electric chair where guests pose for photos mid-execution. It's all played for laughs, but underneath, the place is soaked in chaos. Then it goes completely off the rails. The park's animatronic characters, robot mascots of Itchy and Scratchy, are programmed to act out violent gags from the cartoons. But something malfunctions. They stop performing. They start attacking with knives, chainsaws, flamethrowers. This isn't cartoon danger anymore. This is machines going rogue. They begin hunting park visitors one by one. Homer and Bart end up separated from the rest of the family and barricade themselves inside a gift shop. Their only defense? Disposable cameras. Turns out, the camera flash disrupts the robot circuits, so they start using the flash like a weapon, blasting photos to disable attackers. It's absurd. It's hilarious, but it's also way more intense than you'd expect from a family comedy. Here's what lands this episode on the list. The violence is front and center, not symbolic. Not subtle. The entire park is built around hurting things for fun, and then that fantasy becomes real. Cartoon torture turns into mechanical murder, and just like that, entertainment becomes survival. By the end, everything gets tied up neatly. The family leaves, the park reopens, no one talks about the killer robots again. But that tension sticks with you. It asks, how far can the media push violence before the joke just breaks? A Serious Flanders, Season 33, Episodes 6 and 7. This two-parter isn't your usual Springfield setup. It's darker, heavier, and completely off-brand on purpose. The tone ditches comedy for full-on crime drama. And the violence? It's not cartoonish, it's calculated. It all starts when Ned Flanders stumbles upon a briefcase packed with stolen money. Naturally, Ned does what he always does. He gives it away to charities and struggling neighbors. But that money wasn't just forgotten. It was left behind by a dying billionaire whose shady empire was built on blood. And now the people hunting that cash are back in town with a kill list.
I'm staying in Springfield. I have a very old, very personal debt to collect.
That's where Costmo comes in. He's not your average Springfield villain. He's cold, rich, and terrifyingly calm. A hitman who orders rare wines and executes in the same breath. No slapstick. No over-the-top screaming, just quiet cruelty. If you're in his way, you're gone. Ned's generosity puts a target on his back. Homer and even Marge get dragged into the crossfire. What follows is relentless. Torture in motel rooms, gunfire in quiet suburbs, bodies buried in the woods. Familiar characters are shoved into serious danger. No jokes, no breaks, just survival. The animation shifts too. Moody lighting, long silences, slow pacing. It looks more like a prestige crime show than a cartoon. You see fear in their eyes. Ned, usually soft-spoken and gentle, is forced to become violent himself. He breaks his own moral code just to make it out alive. That's the real gut punch. Watching someone who believes in goodness get pushed past the line. There's even a harrowing scene where Ned is tied up and nearly killed. His usual prayers replaced by raw panic. The blood may not gush, but the threat is always there, hovering over every scene. So why does this one belong on the list? Because it doesn't just dip into darkness, it sinks in. There's no reset, no wacky logic. It's violence with consequences, and survival with scars. Forget the hitmen, forget the crime lords. You want unsettling? Watch what happens when Marge loses control. The Strong Arms of the Ma, Season 14, Episode 9. Violence isn't usually Marge's thing. She's the one who keeps the peace, the steady voice, the soft touch. But this episode flips that completely. It all starts with a robbery. Marge is walking home alone at night when suddenly she's attacked. No goofy music, no cartoon gag. Just a shove, a stolen purse, and a moment that leaves her completely shaken. That single act takes away her sense of safety. She becomes afraid to go outside. Her world shrinks. She stops trusting people, even her own routines. At first, she turns to exercise to feel strong again. Lifting weights helps her feel in control, but that control quickly becomes an obsession. She doesn't just get toned, she gets jacked. Then she takes it further. She starts using steroids. That's when her body changes, and so does her mind.
Alkaloids for my lats, Mesomax for my delts, and estrogen blockers for that minty taste.
Her new muscles give her confidence, but they also wake up something else: anger. She begins lashing out, snapping at her family, and working out like she's preparing for battle. People start backing away from her. She's no longer just strong. She's scary. The fear she once felt gets buried, but it's replaced by something just as dangerous. Then comes the moment that changes everything. In a heated argument with Homer, she completely loses control. She grabs him and throws him across the room like a rag doll. It's not a prank or a misunderstanding. It's real, sudden violence. And this time, it's Marge causing it. This episode earns its place on the list because it shows how quiet fear can turn into loud destruction. It's not slapstick. It's not a one-off joke. It's a breakdown of a character we've always known as kind and gentle. The one attack didn't just frighten her, it rewired her completely. By the end, she sees what she's become, but seeing doesn't undo it. She didn't just lash out, she became a threat. Marge didn't just lose control, she lost herself. And when kindness turns into something unrecognizable, that's not just shocking, it's terrifying. Because sometimes the scariest violence isn't what breaks a body, it's what breaks a soul. Fear turns the strong into a threat, but the weak, they don't get feared, they get broken. The Boys of Bummer, Season 18, Episode 18. Not all violence leaves bruises. Sometimes the pain is invisible. The Boys of Bummer is proof that psychological harm can cut just as deep as any physical blow. Bart becomes a Little League star until one fumbled catch in the championship game changes everything. That one misstep flips the town's love into disgust. The cheers stop. The boos begin. People throw garbage at him in the streets. Former fans turn hostile overnight. The town that once lifted him up now wants to tear him down. And it doesn't stop at strangers. Friends distance themselves. Even the murals around Springfield turn cruel, with giant images of his failure painted in humiliating detail. There's no break, just constant reminders of that one mistake. The pressure doesn't fade, it grows. Eventually, it shatters him. Bart climbs to the top of a building, clearly ready to end it all. This isn't being played as a gag or a bluff, it's serious. The scene shows a child being pushed beyond his limit by public shame and emotional abuse. It's not physical violence, but it hits just as hard. Meanwhile, Homer's subplot adds another disturbing layer. He tricks an elderly couple into buying a new mattress, then sneaks into their home to steal their old one back just so he can get a refund. When they catch him in the act, he doesn't apologize. He physically wrestles them on their front lawn. The show plays it for laughs, but watching a grown man fight two seniors feels more mean-spirited than funny. So why does The Boys of Bummer make the list? Because it highlights how cruelty can wear a smile. Because emotional damage doesn't need blood to be violent. And because when a town turns its anger toward a child, the result is more horrifying than any cartoon punch. There's a moment in this episode when the jokes stop landing, and that silence says everything. The violence isn't about fists. It's about humiliation, shame, and the feeling of being completely alone. A boy climbs a building, thinking there's no way out. Elsewhere, two more think they've killed someone and decided not to tell a soul. Dial N for Nerder. Season 19, Episode 14. Dial N for Nerder. When Bart thinks he killed someone and doesn't feel that bad about it. This episode starts out like a prank and turns into a full-blown cover-up. And in the middle, a deep dive into guilt, secrets, and a near death that somehow ends with a punchline. So here's how it goes. Bart and Lisa are messing around on a mountain trail when they decide to prank Martin Prince.
The bone's the very thing, methinks, to prank my sister and the dink.
It starts off harmless, just a quick scare. But then Bart pushes a boulder. It rolls downhill. Martin goes over a cliff. The ground gives way. He screams. Then nothing. Bart jumps to the worst case scenario. He thinks Martin's dead. And Lisa, she doesn't stop him. Instead of getting help, they start hiding everything. They toss the evidence, lie to grown-ups, and promise to stay silent. These are two smart kids, raised better, but they fall into a serious mess. Meanwhile, Marge hires the host of a reality show called Cheaters to spy on Homer, convinced he's doing something shady. Turns out, he's sneaking off to eat greasy food in secret. That subplot's played for jokes, but the main story feels anything but funny. Back to Martin. While Bart and Lisa spiral into fear and denial, we find out he survived. He's hurt, shaken, but alive, wandering the woods, trying to find his way back. The only reason this didn't become a tragedy, pure luck. Dial N for Nerder earns its place on this list for good reason. It's not about physical wounds. It's about guilt, fear, and what happens when kids decide silence is safer than honesty. Two kids think they've caused a death and choose to bury it. The tension doesn't come from blood. It comes from watching them wrestle with that choice. And when Martin falls, it's filmed like a genuine accident. No silly bounce, no goofy music, just a long drop and a terrifying pause. By the end, everything looks smoothed over. No real fallout. But for nearly 20 minutes, The Simpsons shows what it would be like if Bart finally went too far. It's not graphic, but it sticks with you. A fake death, a pile of lies, and two kids crushed by what they think they've done. This wasn't some silly mischief. It was The Simpsons at its most quietly disturbing. Cartoons aren't always fun. Sometimes they go too far. From toasted time travel disasters to Marge losing control. The Simpsons has shown just how wild things can get. Which moment shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments. And if you want more deep dives into the dark side of your favorite shows, like, share, and subscribe. Springfield's not finished with us yet.